Hi everybody, my name's Fern DeFay. I'm here with another tutorial of the Deeper Mysteries Occult History series focusing on the Celtic tree mysteries with the Oghams. Last video we talked about in the intermediate lessons was about the Book of the Ballymote and Finn's Window, and this is another version of that chart, only done by a modern interpretation that I found in the Book of Oghams by Edred Thorsen. He took the Finn's Window that is normally a flat circular model of the 5 rings of each of the different groups representing the 5 realms. This is what it looks like popped up into a more 3D model, in which we still have the same 1, 2, 3, 4 directions in each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 directions, each with one of the groups of the counting systems of the Oghams. Only this is the ones, everything that was in this outer ring here that were 1 hash Oghams, all of them go on the bottom realm. This is the Underworld, Tir an Damwan. Number 2 rings, all the Oghams that have 2s, they belong to this in-between middle bridge, in between the lower and the middle realms. Everything that has 3 hashes in this 3rd ring, this relates here to the middle realms where we live, and the planes at the center of the existences. Everything that's 4 relates to this bridge in between the middle and the upper realms, and everything that is on the 5 realms deals with the upper world, also known as Mag Mor in Gaelic. Now, that was the quick rundown. The breaking it down a little bit more as we go through the counting system. In the north of the underworld, we have B is for Beeth, 1 on the right. In the east, in the lower realm, we have H for Hawthorn. In the south of the lower realm, we have M for Muin. In the west of the underworld, we have A for Alum, which is elm. Sorry, Muin is vine. So in this realm, we have birch, hawthorn, vine, and elm. That correlates here to 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that, I don't know if you guys are seeing how that works, but this is how the cross comparison is going to go. So then when we move up to the next group, the group of 2s, everything that's in this 2nd ring here, that's here in this middle realm. And that relates to, in the north is L for Louis, Rowan. In the east, D for Dior, which is oak. G for Gort, which is ivy in the west, in the south. And the west is On for broom. And that's this gateway, the in-between. It's like chutes and ladders, like the slides between the realms, but for each specific direction. Moving on up to the 3rd realm, in the Middle Earth where we live, in the north is F for Fionn, which is alder. In the east is Tyne for holly. In the south, Negtal, which is reed. In the west, which is Ura, which is heather. Then moving up, so that corresponds to all these 3s. North, east, south, west. North, east, south, west. Now moving up to the 4s, the gateway between the upper realms and the middle realms. In the north, we have Sale for willow. Here, in the 4s. And then we have C for coal in the east. And in the west, strafe for blackthorn. In the west, for the order confusion there, west is Iadha, aspen. And that's all the 4s. Now Now moving on to the 5, the center innermost ring, which is actually in this map system, the upper realm, starting in the north, we have neon for ash, and the east is Q for quart, and the south is R for Ruiz, elder, and then in the west, Idaho, which is U. So this seems to be a lot of the same information from the last video, but it is. But it's just another way of looking at it in a pop-up map. And it helps for me to have both. It's kind of like, you know, the Google Maps, how it can show us the flat map versus a topographic map versus, you know, the actual visual, and it can all be overlapped. These are just different ways of overlapping the maps in a different pop-up system. So, next level, the coolness. I thought it was just super exciting when I was learning about the Oghams that not only is there a tree language about the trees, and it relates to the lunar holidays and the solar holidays, and we've covered that in some of the beginning lessons, but now we're talking about where they relate in each of the realms. So we can go, what is your birth tree? And then when you know your birth month, you can find your birth tree, and then you can find which realm you come from. Like, for example, mine is Hawthorne, and that is the first in the lower realm in the east. And that's cool when you can find that out. So that's why I like, and also if you know that there's a certain lesson you want to work on, you're working on wanting to commune with the ancestors, you can go, all right, what are the underworld trees? And you can go, these are the underworld trees that can take you to the different realms. Or going, I really want to connect to the upper realms. I want to connect to the heavenly bodies and to the gods and the things of the heavenly realms. You can go, okay, these are the trees that will take me to the different directions and the upper realms. And like I said, the odds are the realms, the evens are the bridges in between. Now we're going to flip the map over. Same map again, only instead of it having each of the trees marked out, I have the names of each of the directions for each of the realms. This does not have them for the midway 2s and 4s, but only for the 1s, 3s, and 5s because they're actual places in the directions of each of them. So, in the underworld, in the north, which before we said was B for birch, you know, if this will help you, you can pull up a correspondence chart you might have for, you know, each of the trees, you know, if you want to go through that way, but I'm just going to go over the name places because we just did the trees on the last count. So, in the underworld in the north is the realm of death, and there's 2 different place names in this place. There's the land under the wave, which is Tir Fov Thuin, and then the house of dawn, which is the Tak Duin. And of course, my accents on these are not accurate because Gaelic is confusing, especially when you're an American who's learning through generational diaspora, you know, wisdom leakage. We can try to pick up the old arts and old tongues, but sometimes it's tricky. So bear with me. I need hook on phonics for Gaelic, especially ancient Gaelic. But this will at least give you an idea of what the realms are and what they're about. They often say too that in the old country, broken Irish is better than clever English, as in at least we're trying. So we're trying to put the fragments back together. So in the realm of death in the north, we have the land under the wave and the house of the dawn. When we move over to the next realm in the east, in the underworld, it's the land of love and the land of women, Tir Na Van. That's where I come from. Imagine that. And then in the south is the land of vitality, the land of life, or the land of men, which is Tir Na Bo. And then in the west, we have the land of growth, or the land of youth, or forever young, which many of you have heard of called Tir Na Nog. That's the underworld in the west. They often say it's in the west country. this is where it is. It's the west and the underworld. And then we move up to the next realms in the middle, which is now moving on, jumping past all the 2 ohms, because that's the bridge, and jumping to the 3s. 3 in the north is in the realms that we live in. We have the northeast, southwest like normal, and in each of those directions there's a capital city of the fairy capital of the Tuatha De Danann in each of the capital cities. And each of the capital cities of those realms had left a gift. There's a magical token to help humans who are on this side of the veils regain access to the other side of the veils through these gifts, which is awesome that they left us a key behind. Not just the keys of the Oghams, but a key that's a physical gift for each of these. Only one of them still is found in physical form, and that's the Leah Fall, which is the Stone of Destiny in the north. And that represents the city of the capital fairy city of the north, which is Phalius.
Oh.
So that's the Stone of Destiny in the north, in the Middle Realms. And then the fairy capital city of the east is Gorius, and its gift is the Spear of Courage. And in the fairy capital of the south is Phineas, and its gift is the Sword of Truth. And in the fairy capital of the west is Mirius, which is the gift of the Cauldron of Plenty, or the Cauldron of Abundance, also known as Dagda's Cauldron. And that was a cauldron also known as the Undri, as in it was undry. You could get anything you want from it, like asking a magic genie, and kind of like the origins of the leprechaun with the pot of gold, which was then diminutively warped in storyline over time. But this is the original pot of gold, Dagda's Cauldron, that comes from the west. So each of these correspond to the trees. And as we said before, the ones from the 3, that would have been Fern, Alder, Tyne, Holly, Negtal, Reed, and Ura, which is Heather, are the correspondences for each. And then in the upper world, moving up to Magmore, we have the Realm of Light in the north, which is, there's 3 different names of places of plains in between it. They have the Plain of White Silver, which is Mag Findegrot. And then there's the Plain of Extreme Gentleness. Imagine that, a whole plain of just extreme gentleness. And it is called Mag Im Chiuin. And then they also say that it's the Plain of Silver Clouds, which is Mag Argentnel. Yeah, awkward pronunciations on that in Gaelic, sorry guys. But the most important thing to realize about this realm is, focusing on the English, that's a little less confusing, is it's the realm of light. Imagine that, you're up in the upper realms, in the heavenly realms. It's the land of light. And that corresponds with the neon, the ash tree. Moving over to the east is the quert, the apple tree, and that is the realm of abundance. And it has 2 different planes, 3 different planes listed here, I see. One is the Plain of Delight, which is Magmel, and then there's the Plain of Bounty, which is Mag Erkchek, and then there's the Plain of Many Colors, which is Mag Ildathak. Yes, sorry for the awkward pronunciations, but the realm of abundance that has the Plain of Delight, the Plain of Bounty, and the Plain of Many Colors. And that relates to apples. And in the south, in the upper realms, we have R for Ruiz, which is Elder, and it is the realm of happiness, or the Plain of Wonder, which is Mag Eon Ganide, something like that. The Plain of Wonder. I wonder how they say that. Alright, and in the west, we have the realm that is taking us there by I for Eid Ho, which is you. And this is the realm of age, and that's Sean Mag, which is old plane. So this is where the ancestors of the heavens realm versus the ancestors of the underrealm. So each of them have the western gates, you know, just like each of them have any of the directions, but this is the end of it all, being you, is the final capstone. So with that, we've gone through the basics of the 4 directions in each of the 3 realms and the names of the places it takes you and what are those aspects. And that relates to the corresponding trees for each of the directions and realms, which, bringing it all back, comes from the original Finn's Window circular map. But now this is the diamond-oriented map. And if this is exciting to you, that there's not only a map, but the keys and the portals and where they take you to all the different realms of fairy, it's just so mind-boggling to me. I just love contemplating this. So go ahead and keep this in mind when you're doing your own studies, that not only is each tree a lesson in healing and in wisdom and relates to a seasonal time, but it also relates to a place. And with that, we're going to wrap this lesson up because it's kind of a long one because we've had to cover a lot of things. So even going as swift as I can, it still adds up. So we're going to wrap up for now and say, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to share with your friends in the media, do so. If you're interested in subscribing, just do so your computer or whatever gadget you're watching this on can let you know in your notifications when more videos come out in the future. And thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Celtic tree mysteries within the Deeper Mysteries study sessions. Thanks, guys.